So here's something you may not have realized, but this is the second time in 2016 that we're getting the RoadBlock pay-per-view. Dean Ambrose versus Triple H for the WWE Championship, that was in 2016. And so we're getting RoadBlock twice in 2016, which is something I don't believe we've seen in the past in the WWE. But I don't know, I'd have to go back years. It might have happened before with a pay-per-view, but it's definitely rare. Like, you don't see two Royal Rumbles in the same year. And I'm not really sure how to title this video. Usually what separates this year's prediction game video compared to last year would be one would be titled 2016 and the other would be titled 2015. In this case, my last prediction game video for RoadBlock was titled 2016, so might have to add in end of the line in there or something like that so people don't get confused. So anyways, even though I'm posting this up earlier than usual, you guys know what time it is. It is now time for the RoadBlock prediction game video, where you guys leave your predictions for every single match on the card in the comments section below, and whoever gets them all right gets a shout out in the next one. If you guys can do me a small favor, get this video to over 100 likes. It really helps out and I really appreciate it. And in this case, I'm going to make it a requirement because I know you guys can easily reach that and surpass that. So get this video to over 100 likes, get those predictions right, you get that shout out in the next video. So, RoadBlock, man, we're getting Sasha Banks versus Charlotte once again. I think this is, what, the 7th time they face off? I'm just guesstimating right here, but they faced off a bunch of times. I thought it was over at Hell in a Cell, obviously it wasn't, and then they have another match, Falls Count Anywhere. Thought it was over there, nope, another match now. And this time, it's on pay-per-view, where Charlotte tends to win. And so then I'm like, alright, but if Sasha Banks loses, if Charlotte wins the title at the pay-per-view, doesn't that mean that Sasha Banks then gets a rematch, so it's really not over? Because, the former champion always gets a rematch clause. But they did announce on Raw that there will be no rematch clauses this time around. So, now that this is, confirmed to be the end of the feud, it kind of makes things a bit harder to call here. Even though Charlotte is known to be undefeated in title matches on pay-per-views, and Sasha Banks, I guess, undefeated in title matches on Raw, it's a hard match to call. To me, this is the hardest one to predict out of all the matches on the card. And I'll get to my prediction for that match towards the end of the video. But for now, I want to go ahead and give a quick shout out to the guy that got every single match right for the TLC pay-per-view. He called them all correctly. Initially though, he had one wrong, but he went ahead and posted a reply to his own commenter, to his own predictions, changing his prediction for the tables match from Becky Lynch to Alexa Bliss, and that got him the win. So congrats to Michael Comella. He got them all right, man. Good job. I had the same predictions as his initial set of predictions, where I thought Becky Lynch was going to win the tables match, but of course Alexa Bliss won. I was one match away from getting a perfect score and calling them all correctly. But anyways, let's go ahead, start the predictions for RoadBlock. So we're going to start it off the same way we usually do with the kickoff match, Big Cass versus Rusev. I think this match, we all saw it coming. I mean, Rusev was kicking Enzo's ass right from the get-go when they started this whole thing. They were teasing Rusev and Big Cass a lot, or Rusev versus Big Cass, so you knew it was bound to happen. And it makes sense that it's happening at RoadBlock. Kind of surprised, though, that it's actually the kickoff match. But I will say I prefer this over another tag team match, because we've seen a friggin' kickoff tag team match for the past, 7 pay-per-views. I want something different, so I'm glad it is something different. Just surprised that it is Big Cass versus Rusev. As far as who I think is going to win this, usually the kickoff matches tend to favor the faces, the good guys. They usually win in the pre-show, in the kickoff. And in this case, I don't think it's going to be any different, especially with how Rusev's been pretty much dominating this entire feud, or at least dominating Big Cass's, tag team partner. And I can totally see Enzo Amore coming back and distracting Rusev, or distracting Lana, which in turn distracts Rusev, and then Rusev turns around, bam, big boot from Big Cass, 1, 2, 3, and Cass gets the win. And Big Cass has been pretty protected. Despite Enzo and Cass losing a ton of tag team matches, whenever they do, you'll notice that Enzo is always the one getting pinned or submitting. It's never Big Cass. I actually don't know if Big Cass has even gotten pinned in a one-on-one match yet. I don't think so. The only time he's gotten pinned that I can recall is that Fatal 4-Way match for the Universal Championship where Kevin Owens won the title, and it took a bunch of finishers or a bunch of big moves from all three of the other guys to take him out. So I'll go with Big Cass on this. And then moving on to Sami Zayn versus Braun Strowman. Now, when it comes to this one, it's a bit more complicated to call, for the simple fact that Mick Foley told Sami Zayn that he's giving him 10 minutes. Now, does that mean that there's going to be an actual 10-minute timer on there, a 10-minute limit? If the match goes over 10 minutes, does it automatically end, or does it keep going? I'm not sure. I don't even know if there's going to be a timer or not. But here's the thing, if somebody gets pinned or taps out, Sami Zayn's gonna be the one to get pinned or tap out. He's not gonna, get the 3 count over Braun Strowman or make him tap. So I guess I'm going with Braun Strowman. I do not see Sami Zayn getting the win here. Do I see him surpassing 10 minutes? It's a possibility, but I'll go ahead and say that it's more likely that Braun Strowman goes ahead and hits his finisher on him, pins him with like a couple seconds before that 10 minute mark is over. So he beats him in like 9 minutes and 50 something seconds. That's my prediction. So for that, gonna go with Braun Strowman, and then he's probably gonna go ahead and start a feud with the Big Show. So I don't see him, losing to anyone at this point in time. Afterwards, we've got a triple threat match for the Cruiserweight Championship. The champion, Rich Swann, defending the title against TJP and Brian Kendrick. So, first off, real happy that Rich Swann is the champion. If somebody was going to beat Brian Kendrick for that title, I'm glad it was Rich Swann. And I think this is actually going to be the best Cruiserweight match on pay-per-view yet. So far, to me, all the one-on-one Cruiserweight matches that we've had on pay-per-view have been pretty underwhelming, especially if you compare them to what you saw in the Cruiserweight Classic. Definitely toned down, but with this being a triple threat match, I like triple threat matches, big fan of them, and I'm expecting good things out of this. Now, when it comes to who I think is going to win this, I think the title's going to stay in Rich Swann's hands, possibly until WrestleMania. The Cruiserweight title just got introduced, and it's already switched hands 3 times. And the 3 guys that have held the title are all facing off this time, pretty much, I guess, to determine who the best one is out of the 3. Personally, I'm a big fan of Rich Swann and Brian Kendrick, but in this case, I'd like to see Rich Swann retain, and it's also what I think is going to happen. And part of the reason why is that the titles change hands a lot lately. Just like the IC Championship, I think that now they're going to go ahead and go with a stable champion for, a couple of months. So, moving on, we've then got Seth Rollins versus Chris Jericho, a match we've seen plenty of times in the past, and every single time Seth Rollins has won the match. And initially I was actually thinking of going with Jericho, because that would actually be the only thing, or the one thing that would separate, I guess, this match from the other Seth Rollins versus Chris Jericho matches, aside from it, this time being on pay-per-view. But then, when you look at Seth Rollins' pay-per-view record since returning, it's pretty bad. He won 1 match against Roman Reigns for the title, and since then, he's lost all the other ones. And in this case, if Seth Rollins wins, it's not like it really affects Jericho too much. He loses a ton of matches, but then, wins a couple. And feuds aren't always, back and forth, where they each win a couple of matches against each other. Sometimes it's really, one-sided. And we've seen that in the past. For instance, Christian versus Randy. That feud went on for a while. They had some great matches, but Randy won pretty much all of them. The only one that Christian won, the only one-on-one match that Christian won against Randy was via disqualification. Can you really count that as a win? I mean, technically it did count as a win because he won the title because of it. But anyways, I'm getting a bit off topic here. Bottom line, going with Seth Rollins on this, because he's probably going to face off against Triple H at WrestleMania. He needs to start getting some wins. And then for the 30-minute Ironman match for the Women's Championship, Charlotte versus Sasha Banks, this is the end of the feud. And there's so many factors going into this as to why I think this person's going to win or that person's going to win. As I do with a lot of the hard predictions, I go back and forth a lot. And this was no different here. Now, the reason why I'm leaning towards Charlotte more is, for one, she's got the whole, winning streak on pay-per-views when it comes to title matches. It's still a weird streak because she has lost a tag team match in there, and she tapped out in that tag team match. It's not like her partner got, pinned or her partner tapped out. Charlotte was the one to tap out in that match to Sasha Banks. But yeah, as far as title matches goes on pay-per-views, she's undefeated. She hasn't been beaten yet. And I don't know if they'd have her get that streak broken on a pay-per-view like RoadBlock. I understand that the theme of the pay-per-view is called End of the Line, and that could also refer to, you know, her winning streak. It could be the end of the line for that winning streak and it ends this Sunday. But it also could just refer to the end of the feud. Now, another reason why I'm leaning towards Charlotte more is because there's another streak going on in the background. And that's the fact that since the brand split, whenever there's a brand exclusive pay-per-view, there's always been a title change. At least one title has changed hands in every single brand exclusive pay-per-view. What I mean by that is the SmackDown only pay-per-views, the Raw only pay-per-views. So far, all of them have had a title change. Backlash, AJ won the title, Becky Lynch won the title. We had the SmackDown Tag Team Champions crowned for the very first time. And then Clash of Champions, Roman Reigns won the US title. Hell in a Cell. What happened to Hell in a Cell? Somebody won it. Oh yeah, Charlotte won the Women's Championship at Hell in a Cell. No Mercy. We had Dolph Ziggler win the IC title. So you get the point. Titles have changed hands in every single brand exclusive pay-per-view since the split. So that could very well continue at RoadBlock as well. On top of that, one thing that's kept this feud going, you know, as long as it has been going right now, is the whole rematch clause thing, where whenever you are the champion and you lose the title, you get an automatic rematch. So that's kept it going. But in this case, they've taken that out. And that favors Charlotte, because if Charlotte wins the title, usually Sasha Banks would get a rematch, but in this case, there is no rematches. And the only way there would be a rematch is if Charlotte would win, and they've taken that out now. So that to me is a possible indication that Charlotte's gonna win this. But when it comes to reasons favoring Sasha Banks, when it comes to a big long feud like this, and then, you know, we're at the end, they promote it as the end of the feud, you'd expect good to prevail. You'd expect the face to win. And then on top of that, for the longest time, I was thinking at WrestleMania for the Women's Championship, it was going to be Sasha Banks versus Bayley. And Sasha has more possible opponents to take on prior to WrestleMania 2. We could see Sasha versus Nia Jax. That's actually a match that I actually thought would take place. Like, I could see it happening, and those to me are indications that Sasha could win. But at the end of it, there's more indications, there's more hints and reasons supporting a Charlotte win over Sasha, so I'm going to go with Charlotte for the win. And plus, I've bet against Charlotte like 3 times in the past in pay-per-view title matches, and of course I was wrong all 3 times, so not going to do that again. And for the main event, Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, Universal title on the line, I'm going to go with Kevin Owens scoring the win and retaining the Universal Championship. As I've said before, I don't think the whole split between Chris Jericho and Kevin Owens is legit. Like, I think it's all planned. It was their plan to avoid Mick Foley punishing Chris Jericho because of him going ahead and getting involved in that championship match between KO and Seth Rollins, where both Roman and Jericho were banned from ringside. They were teasing, you know, Mick Foley punishing them if they broke that rule. And of course, when, you know, that time comes, hey, all of a sudden, Chris Jericho gets really upset that Kevin Owens told him to shut up and tells Mick Foley, hey, you don't need to punish me or anything like that. I'm leaving the arena right now. And now that he hasn't gotten suspended or hasn't gotten any punishment, I think that Chris Jericho is going to go ahead, help Kevin Owens out, help him retain against Roman, and cost Roman the title match. Because while I think Roman's not going to win, I don't think he's going to lose clean. So, that's pretty much it for my predictions. Now it's time for you guys to leave your predictions in the comments section below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'm out. See ya.